Hi everyone, Russell here. I have my Honda Talon with 2,700 miles on it, and I've had my first breakdown. So what happened is the front drive shaft, or Honda likes to call it the front propeller shaft. There's two sets of U-joints on it, and the U-joint to the rear, which hooks up to the transfer case, or Honda calls the sub-transmission, one of the caps of the U-joint fell off. So I was still able to drive it after that, but I just took it pretty easy, and I could actually see it through my gear shift lever, the drive shaft wobbling back and forth. So it's really a pretty easy fix overall. I mean, Honda is saying 6.9 hours of labor. I was able to do it in 4 hours myself. It's already completed. But I'll show you step by step how I got that done. So I'm a little upset with the breakdown, but after I thought about it a little bit, if I were to have a Polaris or Can-Am or any other machine with a belt on it, I probably would have went through, I'm guessing 3 to 8 belts by now, and at $200 a pop. So unfortunately with this front drive shaft, you're not able to just buy like a $20 U-joint. You have to buy the entire drive shaft, which is $180. So this repair right here is costing me less than one belt. So sucks to break down, but then when you think about it, it's not the end of the world or too bad. So I did save a few steps on the service manual, okay? So the service manual says to take the front axles out, which means you have to take the knuckle off and everything. And then pull both axles out. Well, I was able to leave the axles in and still slide that up 3 to 4 inches to get the drive shaft out. All right, what we've done so far, jacked it up in the air. I have a couple of jack stands under there as well. Took off both front tires, took off the front bumper, that's off there. So if you have a winch on there, you need to undo your two winch cables, and then you have one 12 millimeter and two 12 millimeters on each side, so a total of 6 bolts, and then a couple of Allens, 2 Allens right there on each side. So a total of 10, and your bumper will just come right off. Then the next step is, you can probably see it running down there, I'm draining the oil from the front differential. So this is how far I got so far. So we have some driver's side flooring pulled out, which there's a piece. There's just a ton of push rivets and a couple little Allen bolts. That's the side piece right between your driver's seat and your gear shifter. So once you get this all pulled out, you'll see right there is the front differential, front drive line. Right there's the back there, transfer case, or what Honda calls a sub-transmission. So basically, we're gonna have to completely remove this entire front drive line for that one U-joint. So now we're going to pull the front differential up, unbolt it, slide it forward to get that drive line out. All right, so we got this front loop off. It does come off in 2 pieces, 2 12 millimeter bolts. Here's the rear loop, 2 12 millimeter bolts. And then right there's so the missing cap is on the other side. So basically you can see the cap right there. That came out on the other side, and so it can just slide back and forth. So this is what we're going to fix. All right, the directions here says to pull out both front axles, but I was able to slide the differential up far enough to get the drive shaft off. So I found it easiest, slide the differential forward, and that will slide right off of the transfer case or sub-transmission. and then we can get it the rest of the way off here in a minute. All right, to get the drive shaft out of the front differential, see right there's a retaining ring. Okay, we're gonna have to spread that open, hold that open, and then pull the shaft back at the same time. So hopefully you can see it maybe a little bit better right there. Spread that open and pull it out. All right, that was a very easy process. Just spread that retaining ring and then just slightly pulled with my hand, and it just popped right out of place. All right, we have everything out. So you can see just the cap came off of that, and was making a horrible noise. Okay, down here on the other end, a couple of sets of O-rings going into the front differential. And just to give you an idea about how long it is, that's laying on the front tire. So it took me about 2 hours to get it out. So to break the front differential loose, you have those 3 bolts, 14mm heads and nuts. So right there, 1, right there's 2, and 1 right there in the back. So you can see about how far I have that front differential slid forward. Pretty easy process. Everything went in and out super easy. All right, so we have the new drive shaft, or front propeller according to Honda. I'm still gonna grease everything up yet. I got the 2 new O-rings in there. And then of course the other end, we'll grease that up as well and get this put back in. All right, this is going to be the trickiest part of putting that back together. Okay, you can see we have the retaining ring right there. Okay, if you look right below my finger here, there's a little groove. Okay, so you have to put this retaining ring inside of that groove, spread it apart. While you're spreading it apart, slide the drive shaft in, okay? And when you get it all the way into this groove right here, that's when you can let go. So that's going to hold the drive shaft from moving in and out. So it'll lock into that little groove and to this groove at the same time. So put it in this groove, spread it open, push the shaft in. All right, I got it back into place. All right, so you can see the little groove. The ring is in there and the little groove right there. So once it's properly put into place, you can't pull it in or push it out or anything like that. That's probably going to be the most difficult part of this. Now I just need to push the differential back and put the 3 bolts back in. All right, after you have everything back in, so right now I do have the front differential back into place, the 3 bolts back in and tightened up. It's lined up perfectly in the front. Then don't forget your loop right there. Tighten down your loop right behind the U-joint. Same thing here. It's in the proper place there, hooking up to the transfer case. Got that loop back in. If you notice that second line right there, radiator hose, that's actually the heater line I put in, so that's why you see some zip ties around it. So that should be everything with the front driveline. All right, the 3 bolts are tightened up to secure the front differential again. Very important. Don't forget to fill the front differential up again. Keep in mind, I'm waiting to do this until it's back on level ground, because if I fill it up while it's jacked up, it's going to overfill it and cause some problems. So I'm gonna wait until it's back down, back to its natural level, and then fill up the front differential. All right, to get this flooring back in, it's really kind of a pain and the most difficult part of this whole process. So this piece here, I loosened all the way up. Took everything out of it. Okay, this front piece has to slide underneath it. And there's not much room to slide that out. I mean, to make this as easy as possible, you just want to take out this whole piece here. Take that whole piece out, and then take out this front piece. That was really kind of a pain getting that back in because it has to tuck under things and stuff like that. And then you would do the side piece right there, covering up the drive shaft. All right, we got everything back in. Center console, side piece, flooring, everything back together. Seat frame, lower panel, heated seats plugged back in. So this pretty much finishes up the inside of the cab. Now we'll go up to the front and wrap up the job. All right, we have the front suspension settled back to its natural level and filling up the front differential. So keep in mind this 80/90 flows pretty slow. So I've already filled it up twice and just waited, and it settled back in. So keep that in mind. You might have to fill it up a couple times for that oil to move around, especially at colder temperatures. So here's the oil I put in the front differential. So I filled it up 3 times already. I'm gonna fill it up a time or two more and wait till it stays at full.